Hello and welcome to another edition of Tippers and Clippers. All things to the team at Tyre Power. Shout out to Richard Ellery and the team. Miles Pfitzner with you, and I'm joined by, Australian racing royalty in Matt Hill. He's in the Barber's chair. Hello to you, Matty.
Good to see you, Miles. And I must say, it's an absolute pleasure to be here in a Ridgy-Didge barber shop. Good to see you, Mark. I was brought up with a barber. My granddad was a barber, and near Tottenham, which is not far from Footscray, and his shop was at the front of his house. And so every time we visited Grandma and Grandpa, we'd always be playing around in the barber shop. And I've got great memories of Granddad when I was about 5 or 6. So every time a young customer would walk in, he'd just say, "Can you scurry out of the barber shop for 5 minutes and play with the dog and come back?" And I never really understood why. But as Maury will be able to attest, in the 80s, of course, barbers didn't just cut hair, but they also, what did they sell?
Cigarettes.
And frangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had dirty magazines.
Dirty
as well.
magazines. So being a 5 or 6-year-old, I wasn't allowed to be a part of that, so I had to scurry out. But when Granddad retired, he put his barber shop in his back garage. So we used to play around and pretend we were barbers. And I'd say the smell of bay rum. You ever smelt bay rum?
Yeah.
I used to put that in the hair of the gentleman.
I might have some.
Have you got some? Honestly, I'll get high on it. It was absolutely fantastic. So it's great to be in a barber shop. I've got a real penchant for them.
Yeah, well, you walked in here very, very sprightly, and Maury's doing a great job on your hair.
Have you got some bay rum there, mate?
Thought he might.
I thought I might have.
Matty, you've called horse races all around the world. I was trying to count up how many Olympics. Is it 7?
Yeah,
Six?
seven.
Seven
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yep.
You're the main race caller here in Victoria. You still do some athletics. Take us right back the moment when you sort of said to yourself early doors that, right, this is it, this is my profession, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Well, I can't really remember a time where I thought that was going to be my profession. I was just obsessed, really. It was I was very focused on wanting to do it. But I remember, listening to the races when I was 9 or 10, and it was the radio, really, because there was no TV racing in the late 80s, bar for maybe Melbourne Cup time. So I'd listen to the races, and I was just completely enamoured by the sound of it, and was desperate to do it, really. And so I just pursued it, and I didn't really want to do anything else. I half toyed with the fact of becoming maybe an accountant because I was decent with numbers in high school, but in the end, nothing was going to stop me. Nothing was going to stop me, even though opportunities are always hard to come by. In fact, the hardest opportunities are your first ones because you've got no experience. But as you start building, calling barrier trials, calling non-tab race meetings that were around back then, picnic race meetings, you build the experience and the knowledge base. And really, a lot of it was misspent youth from about 14 onwards, sitting in spare broadcast boxes at the races and calling into a dictaphone, as they were called then, a little tape recorder, and I'd go home, listen to them, and then send them to the race callers for advice.
Is there a couple of events that you still sit back and pinch yourself? Well, as we mentioned, 7 Olympics, races all around the world. Is there a couple that stand out for you and you sort of go, wow, that was something pretty special? Not saying that multiple Melbourne Cups and all of them are, but are there a couple right at the top?
Well, I think the Melbourne Cup is pretty special because I'm on my own. I don't have any assistance. It's a very raw form of broadcasting, really. You're on an island on your own, and if a horse is 3 lengths in front and you don't know what it is, you're in a bit of strife, So the Melbourne Cups are always colossal to do, and I do remember Vow and Declares very fondly.
Oh,
just
back to the inside.
Yeah, it was
$13.
Were you on?
Yes.
But it was such a frenetic race, and I hope that we don't get too many more finishes like that in the Melbourne Cup because it was nerve-wracking stuff. But I remember that. Obviously, calling a 100 final at the Olympics in Paris is one of the big events. And then you obviously think about footy games you've called that are close finishes. You can't beat it to be behind the microphone when things are like that.
A lot of people probably ask you, it's the number one thing we get asked a lot as working in racing is how do race callers remember everything in one race, drop that, and then pick it up in another race? When does it start for you, the preparation for a meeting and memorising your colours?
Well, the thing about race callers is we probably have bad memories in a way because we have trained ourselves to learn them and then sieve them. So we learn them, it's photographic memory, so it's 10 minutes before each race when the jockeys mount up. That is the most important time. And I mean, you know, you get a form guide on the Friday and you see a horse like Stolly Bolly, for instance, on the weekend. You know it's going to be carrying blue and green. You know its colours. But until you've seen them on the day, it might go out in club's colours, you know. So you have to really put them in your brain about 9 or 10 minutes before, and then you forget that race even existed, move on to the next one.
Do you remember a race where you've had, say, 4 of the Godolphin runners with the red, white and blue and black caps?
Yes.
That would make it difficult?
Yeah, so the Godolphins were the first challenge, but now we have different stables that have got multiple runners on a lot of occasions. But what I try and do is match the colour with something in its name. So if the name's Miles's Lass, for instance, and it's wearing a pink cap, I think, okay, well, it's a feminine name, pink.
Yep.
And I'll try and hello, broadcast. Hello, broadcast. It's a late scratching coming through. Your 1 o'clock appointment, no good. Yeah.
Oh, the timing of that's beautiful. I was waiting for the hello.
We need the siren.
Yes, and the yes, yes.
Yeah, so I'll try and do that. You know, it's amazing though how you might have a light-coloured horse and the horse will be named Dark Journey or something. You know, hello, they're off again. Again, the stewards are relentless here.
They certainly are.
So and you try and do that. What is a real head wreck? For instance, a horse might win with a gold cap on Derby Day and then run on Melbourne Cup Day and the Melbourne Cup in a different coloured cap.
Yeah.
It's been so ingrained in your brain, you know. So you do play tricks with your brain a little. It's a completely mental game, but the one thing about race calling, which is the fundamental, is it's a concentration game. So even the hardest races sometimes, and I don't mind admitting this, is if you're standing there at Moe and you've got 12 runners in a benchmark 58, you're thinking it's just another race. But our job is to concentrate as intrinsically as we can, because you can easily lose your rhythm, or at least forget a name if you're not concentrating properly.
Do you have a favourite horse before we get stuck into some of the form and how you go about it? Is there a horse that sort of got you a little bit?
Well, back in the days of going to the races with Grandad, I loved a sprinter named Street Ruffian, who was ridden by Darren Triantafilou, who's a steward now. And he was a grey. He was a fantastic sprinter. And then the next generation came along like Hariba and Scalacci, and I used to love those horses. They were just fantastic. And also at that time, the jumpers were sensational, like Sharpaz. I never forget, he led all of the way. Yes, geez, you're going back now, but Sharpaz led all the way in a Grand National hurdle over 4,800 at Flemington. And I remember the hill stand absolutely packed, and they gave him one of the great receptions. And then as time went on, my favourite horse of all time was Better Loosen Up. I mean, I remember crowding around the lounge room to watch him in Japan. Watching a race from Japan in 1992 was watching something from planet Mars. Like, we'd never seen a race from Japan before, let alone an Aussie taking over the world and winning it. So he started all this with all of our horses going overseas, and I loved him.
How do you go about doing your form? You pick a lot of winners. We're trying to educate a little bit. Everyone does it differently, but what do you look for when you're doing form, and how do you go about it?
Well, form intrigues me. In fact, trying to find a winner intrigues me, because it's a science, you know, and as I love the modern way of doing it. People go off ratings, people go off the wind direction, people going off lanes on the track, and this hasn't changed for 200 years. You know, there's so many different ways you can do it, but for me, I still think the most important thing is to watch the videos of their last run. You pick up things on the eye. I'll do the form first, just on the paper, and what I remember. And then to cement that, I'll go back on their previous runs to see who was unlucky, etc. Because you can actually pick up on horses that have had tougher runs or unlucky runs that is not said in print form. And then follow. My bit of advice when it comes to try to find a winner is follow your own instinct. And I think the punters need the form gurus like your good self and others for confirmation of what they might be thinking, or maybe another thought process. And I think that's really important. But I think the punters have probably already made their own minds up, but need you guys for some sort of clarity.
What's the saying? Money lost, nothing lost, confidence lost, everything lost.
Oh, no doubt. It's like anything. It's like anything in life. It's like I feel like on Melbourne Cup Day when the horses are going into the gates, I have to be the batter at Yankee Stadium saying, okay, come on, throw it at me, whatever you've got, throw it at me.
Have you got a punting story for us? You remember a big win one day, or the group of mates, or a big win you had yourself? You got a story for us?
Well, I used to, and I still do, love a quaddie.
Yeah.
But they break your heart. But I still see it as a win, even if you get to the last leg of the quaddie and you've got something going for 150,000. Even if it doesn't win, you think, geez, I've had the experience today, you know. But you'd rather the win, but of course they're very rare. But I absolutely snagged one day at Muswellbrook. I was calling the races there in New South Wales, and I always found those weaker races, you could find something at a price that could win, you know, and got a 33-1 shot up in the last leg, and I won 20,000. And the thing was, it wasn't so much it was the 20,000. It was the fact that the main tote window at Muswellbrook couldn't pay me. She said, I can't pay you. I don't have enough money. So you're gonna have to take your ticket to the local tab when you get back to Sydney and check it there. So I did that, and it was that great feeling of being walked to the car like armour guard. Because they didn't want me to walk through the main bar of the hotel I was in. That was a really good feeling. And the 20,000, I ended up going on an overseas trip and went to the races in Italy, the Czech Republic, and I went to the Arc and saw Rail Link beat Deep Impact in the Arc. So thank God for that $20,000 quaddie at Muswellbrook that day.
Before we get a tip for Moonee Valley on Saturday, have you got a horse that you really looking forward to seeing throughout the spring here in Melbourne?
I can't wait to see Treasure the Moment and what they do with her.
Whether they go Cox Plate or can the horse run 2,400 in the Caulfield Cup or Cox Plate?
I reckon she's got Caulfield Cup written
That's
all
what I think.
over her, you know, and, but they must be tempted for a Cox Plate, as you would be. But I can't wait to see her. She's come back. She exhibition galloped the other day. She looks as good as ever. She's got this extraordinary push button about her. And she just took all before her, didn't she, in the spring? So I reckon Treasure the Moment. And as far as Moonee Valley goes, the one thing about Moonee Valley, I've got 6 meetings left at the configuration of Moonee Valley. And as someone who, as I say, spent a lot of misspent youth at Moonee Valley practicing the races and the trots, there's nothing better than the hamburger bar at the top of the hill there behind the grandstand between the double headers. Remember the old double headers? You'd go to the races and then you'd have your hamburger at about 5:30 and stay on for the 7 o'clock stakes at the trots. It was the absolute best. So you were there from this afternoon right to the last race at 5 to 11, which is usually the discretionary handicap or something at Moonee Valley Trots. Love Moonee Valley. We've got 6 meetings left to go there. So I'm trying to lap it up while we've got it.
I'm certainly trying to lap it up. I want to see Via Sistina win the Cox by 8 again. It'd be lovely. So we've got $50 to spend at Moonee Valley on the weekend. Which way do you want to go?
Well, I just thought Jennifer Moose was just so impressive the other day at Moonee Valley. Has to beat Bold Soul, but I think she can. I reckon Jennifer Moose, which is 2-6.
2-6. Race 2, number 6, Jennifer Moose. I'll go the one after you.
Okay.
I'll go my 50 on race 3, number 6, Exit. Got a bit lost up the straight, I thought, and found out Crossbow got at that time 2.5 kilo weight swing. I think that horse will return. So I'll have the 50 on Exit.
Horse.
We'll have 50 on Jennifer Moose. Matty, appreciate you coming in.
No worries,
Maury's doing a hell of a job with your hair.
Maury's making me...
running double.
The running double.
Running double. 3 into 4.
That's it.
Anyway, Maury, got any frangers?
No,
Okay, fair enough. No, fair enough.
I appreciate you coming in, Matty.
Okay, thanks.
Best of luck throughout the spring. That's all we've got
Thanks,
time for. Tippers and clippers, all thanks to the team at Tide Power. We'll see you again next week.